Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Caregiver Coffee, brought to you by the Council on Aging in St. Tammany, or COAST. I appreciate you joining us for this. I hope that you will like and you will share this information if you do enjoy it. And please let COAST know if you're enjoying the content that we offer every Monday at 12 noon Central Time. My name is Matt Estrad. I am a gerontologist in the greater New Orleans area, and I'm also the care partner or caregiver support group facilitator for the Council on Aging. I've been partnering with COAST for a little over 5 years now, facilitated over 250 sessions with caregivers. Many times the caregivers are taking care of someone who has dementia, but not always. So if you find that you are a caregiver or you're even a family member of someone who has dementia, who is aging and needs help, even if you're not a direct caregiver, but you're a family member and you're looking for ways to find support for yourself and for your loved one, I encourage you to reach out to the Council on Aging and to me about the support groups and how you can interact. So right now, in July, today's July 13th, we are still using an online platform since the senior activity centers are not open. So I encourage you to reach out because it doesn't matter where you are, you can join us, and we would love to have you participate in our group. We have a great group of folks. Some are care partners right now, and some are former caregivers that continued in the group when their loved ones have passed away, which we enjoy having them and their wisdom. My email information is here at the bottom. It's matt@carepartnermentoring.com. That's the most direct way. You can also contact the Council on Aging, but they'll refer you to me as well to find out about those. So today we're going to talk about advocating, and this is in the sense of you're advocating for yourself and for your loved one in the medical system. And I'll go through 5 things, and this is all based on an article that I published about 2 weeks ago. And I'll run through the list real quick, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about each of them. And I'll also send you the article if you are interested in that. So the list is this. So when you're advocating, you want to first be prepared. Second, be a scholar. Next, be professional and civil. Be honest and be tough. So those are the 5 things on this list, and I'm sure we can talk about a lot more in what it takes to be a good advocate, but these are the basic 5 that I've found through experience, through working with care partners and physicians. So the first one is be prepared. And this means in the sense of being prepared, for instance, for a physician's appointment. So these days, physician appointments are not very long, or at least the time that you have with the physician and have their attention is not very long. So you want to make the best use of that time that you have. So in that experience, let's say you're going into a clinic, you have someone who's going to show you to the room. It might be a nurse or a medical assistant. They'll take your vitals, and then they'll ask you questions. They'll put you into the electronic medical record. They'll ask you about medications that you're on. So, and then the physician will come in and answer questions, give an exam, and then you'll close out usually with the nurse or the medical assistant. So in order to make the best use of that time that you have with the physician, what I recommend is that you come into the appointment with a list, a top 3 list of things that you want to talk about. And if it's just one thing, that's great. But this top 3 list is going to be the result of things that you've been noticing and you've had questions for a while. So one way to save time is to bring that list and then hand it to the medical assistant or nurse, so they can give it to the physician, and they come into the room already knowing, okay, these are the things that are very important in this short amount of time. Another suggestion is giving that list to the person that checks in at the clinic, and then your other option is sending a message through the online patient portal ahead of time. But what I've found is that when you have it on a piece of paper and you hand it to somebody that day, it's going to get into their hands and they can look at it right away, as opposed to having to search for a message before. Or maybe maybe the nurse is going to tell them that, hey, I'm going to write these, I'm going to make sure that the doctor sees this message, this online portal message or not. So those are some options. Pick what you think is comfortable for you. Next is be a scholar. Now, patients come into doctors' offices with articles, with ideas, things they've written on the internet. And some doctors are overwhelmed with this, and what we want to do is not overwhelm the physician. We want to go in there with credible information that we want to ask them about. So there are varying sources of information that you'll find on the internet. You'll find articles that also point to studies, and then there are the actual studies themselves. So my suggestion is that if you're using Google, that you type in the words Google Scholar and you hit enter. That will give you the Google Scholar search engine. So it's its own search engine within Google that is going to search scientific journals for the latest information. So what you can do is you'll put in your keywords. For instance, it might be sleeping issues and dementia, and you'll hit enter, and you'll come up with a lot. You'll still get a lot of different articles that you'll find on there. And then once you find that, then you can search for ones that are more specific, or you can go back to the keywords and add specific things to narrow down the searches. And the reason why I'm suggesting Google Scholar is because you can print at least the abstract, which is a short summary. You can at least go to a free summary of it, print that page, understand it yourself, and then bring it into the doctor. And that's something that a physician is going to take seriously more than something off of a website, because they're going to wonder, who wrote this article, what is their background, what are they basing it on. Even if the study says based on previous studies, it's still good to bring in evidence to the physician. Next is to be professional and to be civil. And this goes without saying in interactions that we have with anyone. Now, medical issues can present times when we're frustrated, when we're emotional about things, and that's very understandable to be frustrated. But when we let those emotions get the best of us, we may not communicate in the most civil and professional way that we should. So we should not fear speaking with a physician about a medical condition, but because you're prepared, because you've been a scholar and you're doing some of the background research, you can have a professional discussion with them where you're not raising your voice. You're able to speak clearly because you have things written down and you're organized. So I've found that there might be a time and place to raise our voices, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But here we're talking about being just very professional, very calm, and very polite and appreciative, because this physician is part of our team, and we want to get along with all of our teammates, unless there's a time when they've proven that we need to be tougher. That brings us to being honest. Being honest is number 4 on the list. So, and I'm just glancing at my article. So the medical teams, of course, are expected to keep everything confidential that we discuss with them. So it's very important that we as care partners or persons living with dementia, that when they're asking us questions, that we're being very honest about everything. Because if we're not being on the level with and frank about everything, then the advice that they give us is not going to be based on fact. So be sure that we are being honest with that. And sometimes it's very difficult or not possible to speak frankly in front of our loved one who has dementia. And I know that there are folks, I feel like there could be folks who are living with dementia that are watching this, so I don't want to offend anybody, but I've seen it many times where a loved one will get upset when the care partner explains some of the behavioral expressions that are happening, and it's understandable to be embarrassed sometimes about these things. So it is. I think it would be appropriate if you're bringing a note that has a priorities, you could also have a note that has some of the things that you wanted to let the doctor know, but it wouldn't be appropriate to mention in front of your loved one because of the way that they might react. So this goes along with being honest. And I can see people not understanding or not being happy with saying, "Oh, Matt, well, you're lying to your loved one. You're going behind their back and you're giving notes to the doctor." And that could be, I could see people saying that, and it's just an unfortunate situation, but we also need to focus on our loved ones' care. So I really think that if we have our loved ones' best intentions in mind, that we should be able to do that with a clear conscience, because this is getting factual information to the physician so that he or she can help you address some of these things. And sometimes it's appropriate to have electronic conversations or messages too. That might be good also. So I hope that is easy to understand. And the last one is to be tough, but also go back to being professional and polite. And the reason why I have tough on here, what I mean about that is not so much raising your voice, but being persistent. So you know your loved one better than anyone else. And while you may or may not be a physician, most of us are not, we know our loved one very well, and we know when they're not acting as they usually do. We know when something's off. So if for some reason the physician or the nurse is not just understanding, or they're not paying attention to an issue that you feel like needs more attention, it's appropriate to stick to your guns, to present the facts, to express your concerns in a professional way, and just be persistent. And while I can't share the story, there have been times, at one particular time, a care partner saved their loved one in the emergency room because she was persistent, saying like, no, that you cannot do this, what you're doing right now, it's not going to work. And of course, this was the first time that the physician or the nurse practitioner or the nurse had met the family, so they didn't know. But it took a lot of insistence on the loved one, and it turned out to be better that the physician finally listened, and a medical error or complication was avoided. So, but she did it in a professional way, but she just kept at it and didn't give up because she knew it was the right thing. So I encourage you to do that, along with all these 5 things, and I'm going to review real quick, or give you the list again one more time. First one's be prepared for your appointment, or it can even be an unexpected appointment, emergency room. Be a scholar using the Google Scholar search engines, looking for research articles, their summaries. Be professional and civil, to be honest and frank about everything, and then finally to be tough, which means being persistent. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. I'm going to sign off in a moment. I'm going to point out my email address, matt@carepartnermentoring.com, is right there. So if you have any questions you want to see me cover, any questions, topics, anything in the future, I'll be happy to do that. I won't reveal any names at all. You can also, while I'm giving a talk, sometimes I'll be able to answer questions live. So if you have questions, you can do that here. Make sure that, especially if you're watching, you probably like this video, and if that is the case, make sure you give it a thumbs up and consider sharing with people, so they can learn these 5 tips on being the proper advocate for you and your loved one in medical situations. So my name is Matt Estrad, gerontologist. I'm signing off. I appreciate you watching, either live or in the future, and hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.